Hi, how does childhood emotional neglect impact your relationships? So, this is Dr. Maria Kovanen again, and today I thought I wanted to talk about how childhood emotional neglect might impact your adult relationships. So, what is childhood emotional neglect? Let's just recap briefly what kind of symptoms you might be experiencing. So, it might be this feeling of having almost like a hollow or empty space inside you, and you might have been trying to fill it with, whether it's with food, with some other external matters, food, gambling, drinking, relationships, or there's this feeling like there's an internal void and not quite knowing like what's really going on, and feeling like you can't really connect with people. That is a real struggle. That is like you are behind a glass, a window, and it feels like you just can't connect. You will really struggle with perhaps boundaries, or you might have really rigid boundaries depending on what to go to coping strategy. And you might really feel like you really are sort of cut off from your body, even that maybe you live in your head all the time, and there's this racing thoughts are very kind of, you feel really anxious all the time and just don't really know why that might be. And it might be that you're kind of just living from, like, you're aware of this, but you're really cut off from your body. Or then you might just experience physical symptoms, and but it's really difficult to put name to them. And it's really difficult to understand your emotions, and you might have developed this coping strategy of just getting on with it. Perhaps that was the message that you always heard. So when it comes to relationships, it can be really difficult to be in a relationship when you have experienced childhood emotional neglect. Essentially, childhood emotional neglect is that not so much about what happened, but actually what failed to happen. So we are all born with this innate ability to connect. And as babies are born, they try to seek human contact, and they try to seek another person, and hopefully they have someone who is consistently responding to them. But unfortunately, if you have grown up with a parent or parents who regardless of your cues for connecting, they were not available to you, and then you might have learned as a child that when I call, no one comes, and that you have to just get on with it, and you can't trust other people. So when you go into adult relationships, it might be really difficult for you to trust other people. You might have this sort of underlying thought, you might not even be aware of it, but that I can't trust other people, I can't trust partners, that they are not emotionally available to you. You might have this belief that you can't share, that if you have any difficult things going on for you and you can't connect on the surface level, and you might even get angry a lot. For example, if your partner shows any vulnerability, and because you don't quite know how to deal with it. And so it's really difficult for you. You might have a partner who's always kind of like saying, well, why don't you open up, and why you're so distant, and you might feel like pushing you into a corner that is really difficult for you to be there, and you just want to escape and hide and do everything just to go away. And of course, this might then make your partner feel like you are rejecting them, so they might go after you even more, and you feel even more cornered. So you are that sort of cycle of one pursuing and the other one withdrawing is continuing, and making your relationship very difficult for you. It might be very difficult for you to commit. So perhaps you go from relationship to the next, and maybe the relationships, they always reach a certain point, and then you have to close it off, and just maybe you say to yourself they were just not the right person, and maybe someone else would be able to fulfill this gap that you feel inside. And then on the other hand, if you are a partner of someone who's experienced childhood emotional neglect, this might be really hard because you are trying to connect, but they might give very little in return. Perhaps every time you're trying to reach out to them on an emotional level, they just either they shut down, or they go away, or they do something to sort of give you the message that they are not able to be and connect with you. And this is of course very frustrating for you, and you might feel rejected by them a lot. And what can you do then as a couple if one of you has experienced childhood emotional neglect? Well, couples therapy of course can be very helpful in terms of learning to understand your pattern of relating, and also how both of you are going to contribute into this pattern. So if you have experienced childhood emotional neglect, you might, for example, seek individual therapy to start with, and in therapy you learn tools for understanding your emotions. Of course, you can learn this in couples therapy, and there you have a practicing ground straight away, and the therapist can help you to connect. So you can go in different ways. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, there are more tips and tools for healing, living wholeheartedly, and having fulfilling relationships on my website. So please do visit, and I hope to see you another time. So do subscribe to my my channel, and I post these videos from time to time. And but all the best. Bye then. Bye bye.